when I was um, undercover on the ground doing field reporting, field observations, I heard with my own ears them saying, this is a quote, mutual aid cannot happen without Twitter. Mutual aid, when they say it, it's referring to their ability to fundraise money for their causes. So I'm going to pull up my various Twitter exchanges with Elon, so you can all see how this played out and the fallout from that, and the reaction from the left, of course. Okay, so let me go a little bigger. So this account, Ramsey Paul, was writing, Twitter is reportedly nuking pedo accounts. This is eliminating much of Antifa Twitter. Elon responded, removing child exploitation is priority number one. Please reply in comments if you see anything that Twitter needs to address. Now here's where I wrote, a large number of Antifa accounts operate on Twitter to promote riots, give tips on how to commit violent crimes, and post names, photos, and addresses of targets plus their family members. And I was really shocked that he actually responded. Incitement to violence will result in account suspension. So this was on the 25th of November. Then I took the opportunity to follow up. I asked, well, how do we best inform Twitter of these violations? I'm reporting on specific accounts for years and pretty much all of them remain. And then I talked about how last year in May of 2021, Twitter was used to organize a mob to go after me after I had already been beaten and ran into a hotel in downtown Portland and was in the lobby, and people live streaming videos and telling their comrades where to go. And then, of course, issuing the death threats. So I'll link to the New York Post piece that I wrote. Antifa almost killed me, but I won't stop reporting their crimes. You can Google that and read it in this video. Take a look if you haven't seen it yet. Elon responded, that is a disturbing story and very concerning that Twitter took no action despite clear violation of terms of service. Report in this thread for now. So I thank him for that. And then the first thing that I brought attention to was an account called CrimethInc, which has been suspended now. Let me close up. CrimethInc. So CrimethInc is a far left violent extremist Antifa collective, and they had an account on Twitter, but they run their own website. And but I'm going to post some of the receipts I had on what they posted on Twitter. So the text is kind of small. I can summarize this. So during the 2020 riots, for example, they linked to what they said, a demonstrator's guides to helmets, gas masks, and goggles, tools and tactics in the Portland protests. So they wrote up this after action report on what made these, quote, direct actions, which were violent attacks on federal property, private property, businesses, and people, so successful. They talked about how you can organize in these various types of brigades, laser groups, reconnaissance. I write about all of this in my book, by the way, but CrimethInc was specifically posting this stuff on Twitter. Yeah. And then, look, they wrote, this is the third precinct in Minneapolis today. So they posted a picture of the ruins of the police station in Minneapolis that was completely burnt to the ground. When we say abolish the police, we don't mean beg politicians to defund them. Quote, we mean take grassroots action to prevent them from continuing to do harm until flowers grow in the wreckage of the system. So that's an incitement to violence. Here, they wrote, rest in power, Willem van Spronsen, and they posted this picture of their members praising Willem. So Willem van Spronsen is the Antifa member and John Brown Gun Club member in Washington State, who in 2019 carried out a domestic terrorist attack on the local ICE facility in Tacoma, Washington. He brought a rifle and homemade explosives, and made a car explode, and was trying to make a 500-gallon propane tank that was attached to the building explode. He was killed by police in the process. He had already written and sent out a manifesto. Another question that nobody asks is why those comrades who received those manifestos didn't alert law enforcement beforehand. I think we know why. Anyways, CrimethInc was praising him, and then they link, and then CrimethInc, crucially, they're known for making the text and propaganda that Antifa use at their book fairs and their social events where they radicalize and recruit people. So these texts are made as printouts. One is called "Why We Break Windows." So in a way, they're kind of similar to how Muslim Brotherhood recruiting and organizing are these tracts, these little booklets that are cheap, easy to print out, and you just give out, and it distills really militant extremist ideas in ways that are easy for anybody to pick up and read and just follow. I constantly bring up the comparison between jihadism and Antifa, not because their ideologies are similar, but because a lot of the general recruiting and radicalizing tactics are actually really the same.